Storytelling is not another skill to learn. It's not a soft skill. It's an absolute fundamentally essential skill to learn to succeed in any area of life. Storytelling is basically telling your version of your perception to others in a very unique way that's only made possible by you. Without storytelling, we might not have evolved at all. We might have stayed with apes, not evolving into modern humans. So every person should learn to tell a better story. Your idea is that you are the only person capable of communicating it. Storytelling is an absolute fundamental skill you can learn, and I'm gonna teach you how. Show, don't tell. This is the golden rule of storytelling. Instead of telling the audience what they exactly want to feel, think, or experience, you have to make them feel it, experience it. And with this method, you can actually describe the actual physical sensation that's associated with this story to your audience so that they can feel this sensation themselves. This just enforces the audience to have a strong imagination about your story and actively participate in the story. If you do it perfectly, you have already won. Always make sure your story should invoke strong emotions and sensation in the audience. This is called sensory storytelling. You tap into the people's senses. While telling a story, this can be done using only specific techniques, which I'm about to show you now. It's called zoom in rule while writing about something or while telling about something specific, about a scene or an idea, or it'll be anything. It's called zoom in. As the name suggests, you just tell the macro details first. So instead of describing the whole scene, whole idea, just pick one random detail, but that should have a strong representation within the story. This is much more powerful. Instead of just having a weak statement, this office is very busy and chaotic. With the use of sensory storytelling technique, we can rephrase this sentence as constant staccato of typing, the smell of burnt copy made the room feel small, and everywhere people are hustling. You can feel the horn sounds from the highway, and there is a painter painting in the window, and it's just making a noise. You just made sure your audience actually experience what you actually say. And then there is but and therefore rule, as popularized by the creators of South Park. This technique ensures there is a momentum in your story and have a strong cause and effect in every sentences you're making while telling a story. The common mistake in amateur storytelling is just telling everything as is. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. Just telling one sick phrases or paragraph of sentences or phrases. Instead of adding any value to it, you're just actually describing on how it's supposed to happen. With this exact technique, you should replace and then with therefore. This happened, but you should have a conflict for how the conflict is resolved, and then the next case, the next scene, or next anything. Simple, isn't it? Okay, I just prepared a quick story for you guys using this very technique. Hear me out carefully. The hero brought a sword, and then he went to the cave, and then he fought a dragon. That's a bad one. With but and therefore rule, we can just reinvent the story as the hero brought a sword, but the cave was guarded by a demon, therefore he had to use his way to trick the demon. But the demon liked him, therefore he walked into a trap. Can you see? You can see the logical flow that's been happening. You can see direct cause and effect from the very first word to the end of the word of the story, and it just creates a loop of what's happening on the next scene, next idea, what's happening next. You just become one whole cohesive idea. That's the whole point of it. With this method, you can create a logical flow and a tension. You can just maintain a strong tension while narrating about something. This is the best one. And then there is gap, which is expectation versus reality. Come on guys, gap is just an engine of drama. It's just a space of what the character or what the audience exactly want and what you're actually telling them and what actually happened. That's what you telling this audience. So storytelling is essentially a series of gaps. The narrator is trying to fill it up, but they shouldn't be filling it up right away. they should have a gap for audience to fill that up in their own mind. That's how a good story will start. The gap actually reinforces the character or your audience to react to your story. They will just imagine what will happen next. As soon as the gap opens, the audience probably has, oh my god, what's probably gonna happen? Oh my god, if you're telling us character or something, how the character will feel after, or what might be while you're narrating. That's a gap. You have to have a psychological understanding of what your audience actually want. So it just creates a perpetual loop of questioning and curiosity. That's a gap for you guys. And then we have a specific detail which is called the Iceberg Theory. Ernst Hemingway famously say the dignity of movement of an iceberg is due to 1/8 of its being is above water. So essentially iceberg is not a iceberg if its entire part is visible. So there is no likewise. While telling a story, you should just tell details of the story just the right amount. You shouldn't over explain everything. This is the most fundamentally important rule while narrating about anything. What's the actual technique? Instead of telling the whole scene as is, you should just focus on one specific microscopic detail to begin that just implies the story. Let me give you a quick example. There is a generic version of the story. The apartment was messy, looked like a bachelor living there. And then the specific, using this principle, the only food in the fridge was a jar of mustard and a 6-pack of beer in the refrigerator. A layer of dust coated the PlayStation controller, but the TV was fast. Or you can also see socks hanging in the fan. Or in the kitchen, there is beer bottle caps, metal caps lying around. Basically, this technique implies suddenly tell your audience it's kind of obvious. So I didn't need just telling about your audience imagine what this context is about. But you shouldn't overuse this technique. If you explain everything, just describe everything as is, it will become boring instantly. So why this technique works? Audience is smart. If you give them one scan and they will subconsciously paint the whole picture in their mind. The only rule is your audience. Tell and narrate about something what your audience exactly wants. Be context specific and you should tell your stories at a certain cognitive understanding, the complexity of the story I'm telling, of an audience, your target audience to actually perceive of what you're actually saying. Let's say for example, can you just tell a whole story of Odyssey to a 6-year-old? Probably not. That's what knowing an audience, the best theory made possible by you have to know the audience of whom you're telling to, whom you're telling the story to. That's pretty much it. And guys, if you really like my content, just subscribe to my channel and